What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm MLB DFS Game Day Playbook Live Show. Today we're looking at the Friday 13 game main slate. James, you were on the playbook today. How we doing, man?
We are doing Happy Friday, best day of the week. Also, the day the NFL Draft Guide has released here at Fantasy Alarm. So, obviously, the best day of the week. You get a combo of baseball and football in one day. You only get those for what, a month, 2 months, month and a half.
Couple months, yeah.
Exciting stuff going on here at Fantasy Alarm, and I'm ready to dive into the slate.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if you are an all-pro member of Fantasy Alarm, you get your fantasy football draft guide included in your monthly or annual subscription. So sign up, get it all included, including your MLB DFS content, everything behind the paywall, all premium content included in your all-pro subscription. But if you want just the draft guide, again, released today, will be updated throughout the offseason. We're adding more articles, rankings, profiles, you name it, projections, updated as we go through training camp, starting up next month here. So still a lot more to go, but we have you all ready with some early rankings, sleepers, busts, rookies, and projections to get you guys started. So fantasyalarm.com/guide or scan that QR code there on the screen to get your fantasy football draft guide today. James, we're talking baseball though. That's why everybody's here. That's why we're all tuning in. We appreciate you tuning in. You want to hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share, hit that follow button wherever you are watching. Certainly appreciate the free support there with our shows. 13 games means a lot of players to pick from. We have a couple of weather games, though, that we have to keep our eye on. What are we looking at here, James?
Yeah, we'll start in Kansas City. That looks to be the worst of the day. And things have gotten worse at the beginning of the day. Expectations were that all 9 would play before any rain hit the area. Now it looks like there is rain speeding up, and the storm should hit Kansas City during the game. So I guess it all depends on when and how long these storms are going to go on for. So that game is the most risky. Obviously, we've seen a couple postponements. We've seen a couple suspended games lately, more than we have earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, Atlanta, typical weather situation in Atlanta during the summer. In the South, it just rains and there are storms, and that's just what happens. So it looks like we should be fine there, but there's always the chance that a pop-up storm happens in Atlanta, and that would suck, especially if you're using someone like Charlie Morton.
Right.
And then in Chicago, another situation where hopefully we get a delayed start so we don't have to worry about an in-game delay, especially, again, another pitcher that we'd want to use in Drew Thorpe in that game.
Right.
So looks like there should be a couple of spots that are with delays, and the only thing that's really, really concerning is the Kansas City game. We'll have to get more on that before roster lock.
Taking a look at tonight's pitching slate again, you did the playbook. You can go find that over on Fantasy Alarm here today. A lot of options. Nobody up over 10K though. Logan Gilbert checks in $9,900. Ronel Blanco 98. The aforementioned Charlie Morton, Logan Webb, Max Scherzer round out your 9K tier. We discussed this morning liking Charlie Morton. Now you're talking about maybe some weather issues. Where do you look to go here in this matchup?
It's still Morton for me because the weather you said is potential, and like that's gonna be every slate in Atlanta moving
forward, right?
So, like, if things were to get worse and Kevin Roth of Roto Grinders were to, let us know that it's going to get worse, then I think we'd have to consider it. But I still think Charlie Morton is the play here. We have a bunch of things working for us. He is one of 4 pitchers on the slate with strikeout odds of 5.5 or better. So only 4 pitchers in 26 potential starters had those types of odds.
Yeah.
Minus 145 to go over. So obviously the expectation is a healthy amount of strikeouts. He has the best odds for a win today, minus 180 on DraftKings Sportsbook. of any of the 26 pitchers. And then you look at Pittsburgh, they have not been a very good offense overall against right-handed pitching. Yes, O'Neal Cruz is solid. Rowdy Tellez has been better. Brian Reynolds is on a 23-game hit streak.
Yeah.
Those three are the only ones hitting. Overall, in the month of June, despite a 23-game hit streak by Reynolds, they're 22nd in OPS and WOBA against righties. They're 21st in WRC+. And over that span, they have 25% strikeout rate. And you and I talked about it on the show last night. Morton's problem has been walks. Straight up, no issue. Like, that has been the number one issue. When he hasn't walked anyone, he's been fine.
Yep.
Pittsburgh just 7% walk rate in the month of June. They don't walk a lot. They strike out a lot, and they've been a bottom 10 offense. So I'm still going to Charlie Morton. I'm actually okay going to Logan Gilbert. Minnesota just, they do have Carlos Correa in the lineup tonight, so it is like a full capacity Twins team.
Yeah.
But Logan Gilbert's obviously coming off 16 straight innings of scoreless baseball. So if you wanted to go to Gilbert over Morton, that's fine. But those would be the only two guys for me over 9K. I saw like earlier today, Max Scherzer was getting some ownership, and he still is to some extent getting some ownership. But it's just really hard to imagine a world where, one, he's as efficient as he was in his first start, because Baltimore is not Kansas City.
Right.
Or Kansas City is not Baltimore, I should say. And like, even if he is as efficient, like, is he throwing 90 pitches in his second start of the year? No, this is his second start of the year for a guy who's almost 40 years old. Is he 40? Is his exact age 40?
I don't know if he's that old yet. Let's see. He is 39.
39. So our expectation is from 57 should be in the 70s. Possibly he touches 80, but I'm out on 91% or 9,100 Scherzer when he's the third or fourth highest rostered pitcher.
Sure. Guy right below him, Bailey Ober, obviously has the elite strikeout matchup here. Last two starts for Bailey Ober came against the Oakland A's. They have the second highest strikeout rate in baseball against right-handed pitching. He went for 10 and 8 strikeouts. Now we get Seattle, the highest strikeout rate team in baseball against right-handed pitching. He faced them earlier, 5 innings to earn 7 strikeouts in that start. You and I are obviously, we like our Twins. Usually we like the hitters. Today, maybe we're looking at the pitchers.
Yeah, I do think there's a lot of merit to getting to Ober, and he leads the slate in strikeouts at 6.5, minus 115, highest projected strikeout mark on the board. Obviously, coming off great starts in Oakland, but like the peripheral numbers suggested, he was very unlucky leading into those starts. His first start of the year, he allowed 8 earned against Kansas City. That's putting yourself in a pretty big hole. He then faced Kansas City again in late May and gave up 6. So 14 earned runs in 2 starts against Kansas City this year has really put him in a hole. All of his expected numbers are in the 3s compared to a 4.5 ERA, and that was predating the Oakland starts. Obviously, the strikeout appeal is there with Bailey Ober. Seattle's been better in the month of June, and in general, they're in the middle of the pack offensively. Like, this has been a team. Not only were they strike out a lot, like they just weren't hitting, and now they're hitting, still striking out 26% of the time against righties in June. So we do have to factor that in. They have been better. They have been getting more from everyone other than Julio Rodriguez, right. But I still like Ober, despite him being uber chalk here.
Where are we going in the next tier of guys? Obviously, plenty of 8K and 7K starters. Any one particular catching your eye?
Yeah, so I got 2. One, I'm a little interested to see if the ownership moves here, and that's Drew Thorpe. We mentioned at 7,300, he's just like under 8% rostered. I have a feeling that moves, but we'll see. You look at all across all the prospect rankings, he's top 90. He was as high as like 45 in one prospect list coming into the year. And he faces a Rockies team who This is a very specific split, but I narrowed it down to June against righties on the road, right? I mean,
Love it.
all those
Yep.
things, all those things matter.
Yeah.
They have a 567 team OPS and are striking out 29% of the time. That's a massive strikeout rate and an awful team OPS. And like,
get them out of cores and they all go and get exposed.
It hasn't been like elite strikeout stuff for Thorpe. And another guy that's been walking too many batters. I mean, 4 and 5 walks respectively in his
He
last
doesn't
few
really throw
starts.
that hard too either, right?
Doesn't throw hard. Very, very hittable fastball has been reports early, which, you know, doesn't necessarily mean end of the world, but like has to off speed stuff obviously has to be on.
Yeah.
But again, another team in the Rockies, 6.9 nice percent of the time, they're walking. That is a very low walkout rate, bottom 10 in the league against right-handed pitching. So Thorpe, I expect to get more than 8%. Again, that is a large field tournament projection. So in single entry, you know, mid-teens. Here's one that I'm a little bit interested in tournaments, and I think it's going to be just super low owned, unplayable. Like no one's going to play him. Jameson Taillon, who you and I actually were targeting a little bit during the show, the previous show last night. And then you look into Jameson Taillon and how kind of under the radar good he's been this year. Sub 3 ERA, coming off his best start of the year where he had 10 strikeouts against the Mets, who have been as good as anybody in baseball, right? They are in June, number 1 in OPS. And then you look at the Brewers, who were great against right-handed pitching to start the year. That hasn't been the case this month. 17 in OPS and WRC+. They're 29th in isolated power against right-handed pitching this month, and they have a 23% strikeout rate, or a tick below 23%. I like Taillon here as a pivot off of a chalky Bailey Ober. If you don't believe in the Bailey Ober Oakland games, if you don't believe in Drew Thorpe and the fastball that he doesn't throw hard and can't strike people out in, Taillon's going to go unowned. And he has been super productive this year. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and be like, yes, 10 strikeouts are repeatable for Jameson Taillon. But, you know, he has a couple of big strikeout outings on his ledger and is pitching as well as he has all year.
He's also faced, obviously, again, he's faced Milwaukee twice. We've been, a bit worried of going up against Milwaukee, especially at home this year. And he's really pitched well against them. 12 innings, 3 earned, 11 strikeouts, had a 7 strikeout game. I'm riding this one with you as well. Again, I understand the worries at times of how hot Milwaukee was earlier this year, but this is a guy that obviously knows how to pitch. This is a divisional game, so they kind of understand how to attack these hitters because they play them so often. So, I'm perfectly fine running Taillon out there. Again, this was a guy that was obviously always very talented, has had some ups and downs over his career. But then we see the flashes where he had that complete game, the other day and stuff like that. And you're like, all right, like this guy was used to be one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. Now that's like a decade ago at this point. Right. But like, sometimes you get those flashes still and make you remember, Jerks and Profar. So anybody cheaper for you on today's slate?
No, it gets ugly after Thorpe.
Okay. Catcher position. Obviously, we moved the show back a little bit later in the day so we could get some official lineups out. We now have some of those official lineups. Sean Murphy at 3,100 against Perez would be pretty nice if we can get this game tonight.
Yeah, I think that's probably your priority spend down. 3,100 is an excellent price for Murphy. He's been good. Naturally, the Braves in 2 really good spots in a row have let us down.
Yes.
But, and we say it all the time, to be, an effective DFS player and to be like a good DFS player, you really have to have a goldfish memory with these things. And Atlanta has still hit lefties really well. Murphy is playing well despite, not necessarily having a lot of success lately. Mm-hmm. He has a double dunk since returning from the IL, 950 OPS over his last 10. I'm in at 3,100.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you're looking to spend up or any other like mid-tier guys that are on your radar tonight?
I mean, I messaged you earlier today. I think he's second in odds to homer today, and that's Salvador Perez at plus 215. Second best odds behind Aaron Judge. I feel like when you have those types of odds and when you're comparable to Aaron Judge, like
Yeah.
that's
We've
noteworthy.
we've had some conversations lately about like we talk a lot about like suspicious numbers, right? And we've gone through this now lately, running through some of these home run props, and we see numbers. The other day we talked about it. Byron Buxton had the best home run odds yesterday in that game,
Yesterday,
better
yeah.
than Royce Lewis to homer in that game. Sure enough, he went yard, right? So sometimes Vegas knows if you see a number that looks maybe a bit suspicious or odd or higher than usual, maybe it's worth the shot because it's kind of come through for us here so far. And like you said, if Salvi's the second guy behind, Judge and like Otani, then those two aren't usually put together. So
it's at plus 240. It's at plus 245 right now.
Yeah.
So it's moved a little bit. But like just for context, like Boston has a dream spot, right? Against Randy Vasquez.
Yeah.
Rafael Devers is plus 360 to homer today.
Mm-hmm.
So Salvi's at plus 245. That
Right.
like what doesn't add up? I know, and like Tristan McKenzie allows over 2 home runs per 9 innings to both righties and to lefties. Like he doesn't care. He serves them up. But plus 245 for Salvi to homer today, that's something worth taking note.
Agreed. $5,200, obviously a bit expensive. Would have to build your stacks kind of around there. Yanier Diaz, he slowed down for a little bit. He's picked it right up. He is one of the better hitting catchers right now in baseball. 350 average. The Powers that hit 20 home runs last year against Jose Quintana. We like Astros against lefties as it is, and he's hitting cleanup today. So $4,100 for him. Francisco Alvarez, the guy that's catching across from him, he's hitting everything, and he hits righties really well. We've been waiting for the Ronel Blanco come down at some point here. Hey, Alvarez, man.
Yeah, both catchers in this game are interesting. When I was looking at the peripherals for Quintana, they've been pretty good against righties. He struggled against lefties. It's a small sample, but 740 OPS for righties is pretty good for Diaz. And Alvarez is obviously as good as a hitting catcher as you're going to get. And I think sometimes even in tough spots, like you see someone cheap at 3,700 that should be probably mid fours and will be mid fours sooner or later. Like even in a tough matchup, you click the button and you move on because that player has far too much upside at 3,700.
I agree. I don't really care for any of the 2K catchers. If you feel the need to plug in a Luke Mahle tonight or a Kisner or something like that, like
it's Mahle.
Mahle, just to
Payante's numbers, dude. We're going to talk about Payante's numbers against right-hander bats soon, but it's Mahle for me for sure.
First base, then obviously a large slate, so all the big names are there. Got a favorite here? Are you fading Dodgers versus Logan Webb in San Francisco tonight? Like, where are you on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not personally playing them, but that's not to say that you can't, right? Like, if you want to now, like, I don't know what the algorithm's doing. This is the second straight team that has been priced up in San Francisco. If you remember the Cubs, I mean, we still look at Bellinger's price still. It's still like, I don't know what the algorithm's saying about San Francisco, but whatever it is, it's wrong. Otani should not be like 6,900. That's just impossible to play. So if you want to play him, by all means do it. I don't really have a lot of interest in the 5K tier in general. I think Christian Walker is probably your top dog here, given how bad JP Sears has been, especially lately. But even Walker has been bad against lefties this year. Not surprisingly bad against lefties this year, just given what his history against them has been. 714 OPS, 146 ISO. It's not like the biggest sample, but he has been a dominant force against left-handed bats or left-handed pitching all year. So I would say Christian Walker for me of the 5K tier. You could play Naylor, you could play Salvi, but Christian Walker, his I guess legacy against lefties is standing out here more than anything.
Yeah, for sure. Pascantino's $4,400 if you're just going up against McKenzie there. JD Martinez has been really good lately. Again, Ronel Blanco, $4,400. I know he's been also pretty solid. Any other options for you at first base here tonight?
Yes, Spencer Steer for me, and it's mainly because the mat. Well, one, Spencer Steer has been really really good lately. Hitting third tonight, I really like that spot in the lineup for him. A lot of production, lot of multi hit games. You can play him in multiple positions. This year, Payante against right-handed bats splits against them 367, 457, 583 slug, 450 woba. All three home runs allowed this year, which is 2 home runs per 9 innings, have come against righties. Last year, Payante 357, 444, 438 slug. So the 22, 350, like, moral of the story is righties absolutely crush Payante and have for 3 consecutive years, where in a 100 inning sample, righties have a 320 average, 450 slug, 378 woba. I really like the Reds righties today. And obviously, like, that doesn't mean I'm not going to play Ellie De La Cruz too if I'm playing Reds, but Steer hitting third is a very interesting spot for a multi-position eligible player that, again, I don't think a lot of people get to, just given, let's play a reverse splits guy or let's play someone else. But I think Spencer Steer's in a very good spot.
All right. Any value at first for you tonight? We may have the return for Lamonte Wade, who is someone that you and I have played a lot of. He gets Landon Knack here at 3,800.
Yeah, I would be okay with Lamonte Wade. He hasn't flashed like a massive ceiling. He's been very solid this year. Obviously, I'm not gonna knack a 333 average, but it's I wouldn't say like I'm enamored with his upside coming off the IL. I think he's fine. JD Davis 3,200 is perfectly fine. Rowdy Tellez if you're not playing Charlie Morton 3K. Dominic Smith 2,800 just to get your healthy dose of lefties that Boston doesn't have tonight. Only 6, a little disappointing.
Disappointing. I agree. I saw that lineup.
No Valdez, right?
I thought everybody would be in there, right? Like maybe Connor Wong would have been the one guy. So
yeah, but Dom Smith and then Soderstrom. Although when you look at Cocconi's numbers, they're much worse. Another Arizona pitcher with bad righty splits, so maybe a little less likely to go to Soderstrom. But I mean, he's so cheap that I'd have a little interest.
Sure. Second base. Obviously, again, we have all the guys up here with the matchups we like. Albies with a lefty, Altuve with a lefty, Marte with a lefty. You mentioned, obviously, going up against Sears. You're liking Christian Walker, saving the discounts on Marte tonight.
Second, this is the toughest position of the day for me because I love the spend-ups in Albies, Marte, Altuve. Marte being the primary option here, over 1,000 OPS against lefties. He is one half of the cover of my playbook because I have another Arizona Diamondback in that playbook cover as well. So, like, Marte is the guy for me. But this is a position I also think there's really good value at too. So it's tough. On FanDuel, you don't have to worry about it. You can play them all. But on DraftKings, you have to make a decision. I think Marte's number one in terms of spend-ups. But I do think there's a lot of value as well.
Sure. Mid-tier guys for you. Anybody standing out? I mean, you mentioned how tough this position is. Where you're looking at for the depth?
I mean, Nolan Gorman's kind of been a corpse lately, but you can play him. He's always a tournament guy. Horwitz has been good, and we know Stroman struggles against lefties. I think the biggest problem I have today is if I'm playing on DraftKings, do I play Marte or do I play Jonathan India? Because, boy, everything suggests it's India. He's hitting almost 500 his last 10. He has been amazing. 6 straight multi-hit games. And Payante has been that bad against righties. Like, I just read off 3 seasons of data against Payante that righties just crush him. But I want to play Ketel Marte. So this is the I think India is per dollar maybe the best play of the slate overall. Yeah. But if you're playing an Arizona stack and don't have Ketel Marte, he's their best hitter against lefties. So, like,
yeah, we always say it's like it's the sin making a stack without the team's best hitter, right?
I mean, he has over 1,000 OPS and 300 ISO again. Like, he is a lefty like he's been fine against righties, but he mashes lefties. But hey, look at me,
Noted
Jonathan
switch hitter,
India.
Ketel
Yeah,
Marte. Like,
yeah,
so.
noted. Yes, very obviously a switch hitter.
Right, obviously.
But Jonathan India, switch hitter or not, I mean, this is like as good as he's been in like 3 years.
I mean, he won Rookie of the Year, and then he has basically been garbage since. Injuries involved in that, but
dude, 6 straight multi-hit games, and like the extra base hits have been great, and he's stealing bases, and he's leading games off, and he has the split advantage. It's like, and this guy, he's 3,700. It's another guy that you look at and you're like, probably too cheap. Probably should play him.
Yeah. Anybody else for you down here? Do you go back to Colt Keith, $2,600?
In a tournament you can. It's an inch. Like Plesac's been really bad in 2 starts. He's also had a really tough draw, and Detroit, not exactly tough draw for Plesac. So you can if you want it.
Okay. Third base here.
30 base we go.
30 base. Jose Ramirez, $6,300. Royce Lewis, $62. But we've talked enough about Randy Vasquez and the numbers against lefties. You tweeted about it. You have Rafi Devers here, who's hit some moonshots lately in Fenway. Feeling like this could be a good spot here for our guy.
Is a 474 batting average against any good?
It feels difficult to pitch to a 474 batting average against, right?
Like, what about a 718 slug?
Considering like Hall of Famers are 300 hitters, and you're giving up almost 500 to a split, like it's pretty rough.
What about 3 home runs per 9 innings to one side of the plate?
Honestly, not great. You can do better. You can do better.
What about a 9% striker rate, 8% walker rate to that same? I mean, dude, it's just like you take those numbers, and if Randy Vasquez beats you, you give him one of these. Salute, Randy. Right. We move on to the next day. You know, I don't know. It's Devers. It's Devers with a bullet, and then Riley. And obviously, if you want to play Ramirez, Lewis, Machado, like salute to you. They're all very good at baseball, but I think Devers and Riley are easily the top 2 names here.
Yeah, I agree with you. And not ignoring you guys. We appreciate you popping into. Prince asked for a FanDuel starter. I'll give you that in a moment here. Our guy Pod popping in from Garden City, Colorado, talking a couple strikeout props he's got. And Warren's liking Vladdy here today against the Yankees. Maybe future Yankee Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Well, who knows, right? Like, they just get everybody. Bregman and Josh Smith, 44 and 41 are nice.
Yep. Both are very nice.
Want to get those guys in your line? Certainly can. Any value for you today?
So another home run hot I sent you, and we talked about it on the show last night. Remember I said, I was like, what about Miguel Sano? And you were like, no.
Yeah,
he did homer.
Struck out 3 times, which is why I really didn't want Miguel Sano, but
struck out 3 times. Plus 270 to homer today for Miguel Sano.
Sitting on my IL and FSGA right now.
Sitting on your well, I might want to keep him there for the rest of the year. Just Kenta Maeda has been really bad against righties. Really, really bad. That's been the split that's really harmed him. So Sano 38. Noelvi Marte, look, you said it yesterday, and it's not that I was like incorrect with my point. He hit 100 in the minor leagues after coming off his PED suspension.
Yeah,
like we've seen a lot of players like not do well or as well as they have pre-PEDs.
They smoked Miles Michaelis yesterday.
They really did. No, they smoked Miles.
They absolutely smoked him. And he got it going early too. Like ripped the double. Double. Absolutely ripped one. They moved him up a spot. He went from 6th to 5th in the lineup.
Righties against Payante.
I know.
I've said it. Like it's a thing.
Here's a problem we're having. Is that we like 2 value Reds, but we also love 2 expensive players at their positions.
Correct.
So you got to make multiple lineups there. You got to make your Red stack.
Yes.
And then you got to do your spend up, or you like alternate. You do one Marte lineup, and then you do one India Devers lineup,
I also honestly like Blaze Alexander, who it doesn't help us at all. He's 2nd, 3rd base eligible. I wish there was like a shortstop eligibility mixed in there, but he has a 900 OPS against lefties this year. I know he has been really bad.
Current form, I don't think he's taking a bat to the plate. Someone should
No.
remind him to do that when he goes up there. But
Yeah, there's a possibility he may need to take the bat to.
He's just going up there trying to get hit by a pitcher. I think I'm not really sure what's happening.
Shout out Miguel Vargas.
Schneeman here, 2,900.
Hitting second. Only reason you're mentioning him is
only reason is he's hitting second against March here tonight. So, all right, shortstop. Bobby Witt against McKenzie's 66. Gunnar versus Scherzer. I mean, I wouldn't hate a Gunnar Henderson homer here.
No.
Ellie De La Cruz, 64.
You've got enough Gunnar Henderson and Shohei Ohtani home runs in the last 6 days, okay? Share some for the rest of us.
I can't help it. You guys let me get Ohtani for $46 in that auction league. That's all your fault. Anyways, an elite top end tier here at shortstop. You can't really go wrong with any number of the guys that are at this position.
Yeah, I think every single 5K play sans Correa, and that's even kind of selling how good Correa has been lately short. But Witt obviously in a spot, big home run odds. He's also, I think, under 300 plus 300 homer. Gunnar homers every day. De La Cruz is in one of those stretches where if you play him, you're probably going to be happy because he has a lot of multi-hit games lately. So I think you can. Oh, my daughter loves Ellie De La Cruz tonight. Okay, lock it in. And then Corey Seager. I think Corey Seager is probably the most interesting of the 4 5K tier shortstops today because he obviously hits righties well. If you look at everything's Corey Seager, he has been incredibly unlucky this year. Yeah. All his peripheral stats just suggest that he is due for a blow up, and that's the complete same thing on the other side for Albert Suarez, but reverse. Everything suggests against left-handed bats, Albert Suarez is going to blow up. 5.39 xFIP, a 6 walk per 9 against lefties, 48% fly ball rate. Corey Seager, by the way, 48% fly ball rate, match made in heaven. And then I always find it hilarious. 91% left on base for Albert Suarez this year against lefties. It's just not going to be sustained. And we saw it last start against Houston. It's going to be again today. The Seager-Smith 2-3 stack, I think, makes a ton of sense if you're playing Texas. And he also is obviously significantly cheaper than the other 3 guys. So yeah, I love shortstop spend ups. But I think if you are looking to save some dollars off those 3, Corey Seager is a great alternative.
Sure. A little bit cheaper. You have David Hamilton hitting second against Randy Vasquez. Unlikely power, but it's been there since his call up. So,
dude, 200 ISO.
Unlikely, but he's been doing it. And people were not expecting any home runs really out of David Hamilton. He's got 5, and obviously we know the elite speed with the righty on the mound means potential for stolen bases, especially since Vasquez can't keep guys off base. So if Hamilton gets on, you got to think he's running. I mentioned Smith already there at 41, paying you down to $3,900. Yeah. Always a guy that hits lefties pretty well, hitting 6 there. I like Dansby Swanson against Colin Ray. Again, Dansby Swanson to me, a guy that just feels like he's poised to break out at some point. Has some decent numbers around him on that. Anything else for you?
Yeah, I don't hate Brandon Crawford as a punt, $2,100. Frankie Montas has specifically struggled against lefties, $2,100 in the lineup. All the power to lefties. And for what it's worth, Crawford has been playing decently well when given opportunities.
Sure. Outfield. We have obviously all your top end guys here. The cover of today's show was Aaron Judge. League leader in home runs, has 30 on the season. Kikuchi,
did you see that if you took out Aaron Judge's April, he would still lead the league in home runs? If he didn't play a game, he's
homered 18 times this month, right? Something like that. 15 times.
He has 40 extra bases.
Him, Ohtani, and Henderson are almost homering every day.
Yep.
So
if you bet, I bet you someone has, right? You bet all their home run odds every day, you're definitely profiting.
For sure. Definitely this month. 100% this month. Anyways, Kikuchi had a 4 homer game. He allowed it Boston 2 starts ago. Has allowed 7 homers over the last 7 games for him there as well. So certainly not certainly prone to give up the home run there. Ozuna versus Perez, lefty there. Obviously, a great spot for him. Duran, we don't need to beat the dead horse. Lefties for Boston against Vasquez. What else are we looking at here?
You could definitely play Ozuna in a Atlanta stack. We haven't really talked Atlanta all too much, but Martin Perez coming off the IL has not fared well against right-handed bats, so you can definitely get to Ozuna. I talked about the Quintana splits earlier. Jordan has actually been way better against lefties this year. If you want to play that lefty-lefty matchup, obviously I'd be a fool to not tell you to play Jordan Alvarez. So
Right.
I think there's a lot to like at the top. And then when you start getting like below 5K, I think Luis Roberts, obviously a home run upside play. He's really, really cheap on FanDuel. He's like $3,200. I actually did play a FanDuel lineup today because I wanted to play Jonathan India and Ketel Marte in one lineup. So
they probably have like 7 positional.
Yeah. Well, they have util. That's all I need. I just need the util spot. Mentioned Spencer Steer already. If you want to play Brian Reynolds against Charlie Morton, you can. But I think there's a couple names like low 4Ks.
I like Jackson Merrill.
Jackson Merrill for sure. Obviously, all the power this month in general. Like 6 of his 10 home runs have come in June, which I'm pretty sure equals or has surpassed his AAA number from last year. In just June. Weiler Abreu, we've talked about it. He has not looked good since coming off the IL. If there was ever a spot, right? Still hitting third. The price is slowly decreased.
This guy was second in AL Rookie of the Year odds before his injury. And obviously he's come back and he hasn't, like you said, picked it up. But yeah, if there was a spot for it, it'd be here.
I mean, even with the recent struggles, 856 OPS, 232 ISO, 368 WOBA against righties. Like still all like plus numbers for a 3-hitter. When Rafael Devers is hitting fourth, you're going to get the pitches to hit, sir. So
agreed.
4,100 for Abreu.
Lourdes is in a good spot here. 392 WOBA, 345 batting average against left-handed pitching, a 195 ISO. Again, all of his damage really going against left-handed pitching. We talked series of struggles.
Yeah, he's one half of my playbook, and I made sure to get the hair in the playbook cover today.
Marte Gurriel cover.
Yeah, I did a dual cover. They're both standing on third, representing what they're both going to do tonight when they're trotting around the bases after both homering. But yeah, I think Lourdes of 4K is just simply too cheap, and obviously, like his numbers this year are indicative of how much he's faced righties.
Yeah,
not facing a righty tonight.
Nope.
Like he will, I'm sure. But he's also been pretty good. When you look at Lourdes Gurriel lately, he has a lot of multi-hit games. 6 of his last 9 games have resulted in, or 6 of his last 8 rather, have resulted in 2+ hits.
Well, you remember how he started this season? He was
scorching hot. Base home runs in 3 straight, I think, or 4 straight, 5 straight.
And then he didn't hit for a month.
Yes. and now we are on fire again.
Now we're on fire again. Agreed. Are we going back to the cards? We like the cards lefties the other day. You got Bertelson and Donovan here against Montes.
We are. And little change up in the lineup tonight because there's no Mason Wynn. They're leading Donovan off. And I believe that we used Donovan last night. I think Burleson is the better. Well, I guess was the better
Donovan because he was hotter at the moment.
And cheaper. He was like 200 cheaper, right?
Yeah.
Burleson has the better numbers this year. He is their leader across the board in OPS. I think he's second in ISO and he's first in WOBA against right-handed pitching. So, like, I have no issues just playing lefties against Frankie Montas. That's where he struggled. And the Cardinals, for how bad, like, their best players or what we think their best players should be are doing. Like they've been a top 10 offense against righties, mainly because these two guys, Montas this year against lefties, 457 slug, 363 WOBA, 1.5 home runs per 9 innings. Strikeout rate cut down 5%. The walk rate's up 4%. So yeah, there's a lot to like about the Cardinals. I think this game is one of the more appealing games of the day, just in general, just given the pitching matchup.
I know we go back and forth on Eloy Jimenez, but he has been a guy that actually hits righties better than lefties over his career. 170 ISO this year, obviously limited, but we don't really think much of Dakota Hudson. So, I mean, if you wanted to get, you like Lewis Robert, right? You can pair him right there with a very cheap Eloy Jimenez. While he's healthy, while the hamstring's still attached to his leg.
We think it's attached.
Well,
that first game back, he kind of like gave us one of those like, did you see it? He was standing on first.
Yeah, he's like,
this isn't grabbing good. At it,
and the coach just kind of ignored it. He's like, "No, you're okay."
Like, interesting. Diamondbacks lineup just came out, John.
Okay.
Marte leading off, Blaze Alexander hitting second, Gurriel third, Walker fourth, Grishik fifth, and perfect timing because I think Brandon Grishik's one of my favorite values of the day. Hitting fifth, 800 plus OPS against left-handed pitching. Corbin Carroll hitting seventh tonight, by the way. I really like the top 5 for Arizona. I think if I was stacking Arizona, I would just go with their top 5 and just like move on.
Well, we got a price on Tucker Barnhart. Is he like $2K today?
He is cheap. He is
2,200 if you wanted to wrap around it a little
really
Tucker
cheap.
Barnhart day.
Little Tucker Barnhart ain't bad. But I really think Brando Grishik is an excellent value at $3,100 against JP Sears. Again,
that's cheap.
Yeah, hitting fifth, 800 plus OPS, and we know like this is a dude who's just been a pretty good hitter year in, year out. I probably went to Arizona thinking he was going to play more.
I thought he would hit for more power. He hasn't really hit for as much power since he left Coors, obviously.
For sure.
But 920 OPS, and he still does hit lefties pretty well. So I don't hate that. Yoshita's down here if you want to just keep riding Red Sox. You have Myers at 32 as well. In that matchup there. Let's see. Well, we have some other guys in this range. Cedric Mullins
he has been really good.
Crazy. Like, this is the thing. Like, if people are playing Scherzer, like is the ownership off of Baltimore today? Because like that's the top. We talk about this all the time, right? Like when there's a really high offense that no one's playing, like throw a lineup together.
Luis Gil versus the Mets.
Right.
The Mets scored 11 runs.
Right. Just like throw a lineup together. See what happens. Maybe Gunnar Henderson leads the game off at a homer or something like that. And away we go. Right. So
well, dude, and you factor in like how many innings is Scherzer giving us?
Right.
He's the second start of the year. Is he throwing 90 pitches, 8 scoreless? Like, no.
You get a full Baltimore stack tonight for less than 5, 6, 7%. Like
Gunnar Henderson, I'll just look at Gunner's ownership because he'll be the most popular, is 7%.
Yeah.
No one else is playing. Cedric Mullins 7% roster. If that's accurate. He's projected to be 7%. Behind Andrew Benintendi, of course. Because Andrew Benintendi is getting 9% roster.
Sure. Chas McCormick is 3K. I mentioned Benintendi there. That's probably it, though. Anything for you?
I'm super sad that they didn't play Noel Cleveland. I don't know why they haven't played him in 2 straight days, but they haven't. What else did I have? I had something. Hold on. McCormick, you mentioned.
Did.
Duvall, 3,200 for a cheap home run. He has really good splits against lefties only. Renfroe hitting 5th tonight was a cheap home run that I was looking at as well. Especially if that game plays, Tristan McKenzie, all the home runs that he's allowed, over 2 to both righties and lefties.
Sure.
With no Massey in the lineup hitting 5th, I really like that. And the only I would play if I'm playing a Cincinnati stack. I like their top 4. Nick Martini hitting 4th tonight. Very interesting. Pretty good numbers against right-handed pitching specifically. So if you're playing a red stack, the top 4 with Nick Martini would be.
Sure. All right, let's get a lineup built. I'm assuming we're going with the Diamondbacks here. So Marte and Gurriel, just to get your cover players in.
Yeah, that would be the start.
What are we doing for pitching?
I mean, I don't think we have to go to any particular spend up. Logan Gilbert's the highest projected pitcher, and I don't feel comfortable with that.
You like over Thorpe?
Yeah, and if you wanted to be contrarian, like I'm not saying we have to, but if you wanted to be, you move off Ober and play Tyone. I think that would be like your tournament pivot.
Sure. Save a little money there. Catcher.
Sean Murphy, $3,100 is probably, or if you wanted to like just full punt with Molly or Barnhart, that's fine. But
If we need the money, we can go there.
if we need the money,
I'm fine with Murphy here. Third base, we discussed Devers or Marte. So
yeah, it's Devers or Nolvi. Like obviously, I have no issues with either. I think they're both elite plays. If this is a FanDuel question, by the way, Nolvi Marte still not in the player pool, which I think is absurd. That we're 2 games back from his return, and like we're still he's not in the player pool. But I mean, like Devers is as good as it gets when it comes to spend ups. So
no arguments. Shortstop.
But this is the problem. Here lies the problem, right? Shortstop is a position we want to spend.
What was our cheap outfielder we had? You said
Grishik,
right?
That
completes our little.
Yeah, it's a great correlation. He's hitting 5th.
Yep. All right, so we have 4,500 for first base, shortstop, and outfielder. So we can, in theory, spend up for one more spot.
Seager probably, or Christian Walker to do full stack if you wanted spend ups. But then, like, we don't obviously have to spend any.
We could do Steer.
I do. I mean,
Martini, I think, right?
Yeah. Yep. Good. Little 3-4 red stack. Yep.
Right. Yep. Thorpe, Tyon, Murphy, Steer, Marte, Devers, Seager, Gurriel, Grichuk, and Martini. Gives us our little red stack we like. We got the Diamondbacks. We got our one-off Devers, Homer, Seager play. Tyon, Thorpe. Be a little contrarian with the pitching. Again, playbook is out, so you can go check that out over on Fantasy Alarm. And again, want to give a quick shout and reminder that our fantasy football draft guide is live today. So make sure you check that out. Go to fantasyalarm.com/guide. Scan the QR code there on the screen and make sure that you take a look and get in. If you're a member of the All Pro family, your draft guide comes free with your subscription. If not, you can buy it individually as well. But why not become a member of the All Pro family and get access to everything we have on site there with your All Pro package? So again, fantasyalarm.com/guide. Scan the QR code to get it there today. Answering the Prince's question, we have the FanDuel pitcher. Pick one. What are we doing here?
I played Tyon tonight.
Tyon?
He's 8,300. I mean, I think there's a difference. No, Ober's 9,800, second highest price pitcher. I think Tyon 83, Thorpe 76. If you want to save, you can comfortably play anyone over there.
Okay.
Or Morton 88 is a good price too.
Which one is it?
Morton 88, 83 for Tyon, or 76 for Thorpe. Sorry.
All right, let's do this for our guy to Prince. And I know there's plenty of FanDuel friends out there as well. Let's get a FanDuel lineup, and we'll talk about this for all of you.
Do you want me to just read you off my lineup that I?
Yeah. What do we got?
I played Tyon at pitcher.
Okay.
Christian Walker at first.
Okay.
And then we can adjust wherever. Jonathan India.
Where is he at? I don't know the prices. There we go. 3K.
He is 3,000. Rafael Devers, $3,900.
Sure.
David Hamilton, $3,100 at shortstop.
Don't type his name in there. Hamilton. It'll be cheaper. All right.
Gurriel, Grichuk, Jaron Duran, Ketel Marte. Whoa. Tell me that's not some spice.
I mean,
that's a good looking line.
Pretty good lineup. Where am I? How did I not do this? Oh, that's why. There we go. All right. There's an example lineup for everybody then on FanDuel. Tyon, Walker, India, Devers, Hamilton, Gurriel, Grichuk, Duran, and Marte. Diamondbacks, Red Sox, stack. Jonathan India, one-off play there with Tyon as your starting pitcher. So again, guys, we appreciate you all tuning in. We'll be back here. Actually, no live show Monday, just 3 games for the MLB on Monday. So we'll be back Tuesday to get you all ready for the MLB slate. Until then, everybody.